Morning.
Good morning.
I'm the big bleeper.
I'm the little bleeper.
Oh, you're a bit of singing again.
Yes.
You got that back. We are the Bleepers on a couch, drinking coffee, talking about small business stuff. Well, had a blah beginning this morning for me. That's not usual.
No, not usual.
But anyway, there you go. I feel a bit blah.
I punched him and he laughed, so
Oh, yeah.
maybe we're coming back slowly.
Some physical violence to get the day started. Bit of wife abuse. So, what are we talking about?
That would be husband abuse.
Would it?
We are talking about, we're going to talk today about Google and how it works, because we've mentioned Google obviously numerous times, possibly every day since we started, so we thought it might be a good time to give you a bit of a rundown about why we mention Google so much and why it's so important. Over to you, Big Bleeper.
Well, why is Google so important? Well, we've talked about why it's so important. It sends you leads. So there are a bunch of other search engines out there. Obviously, Bing, owned by Microsoft, is trying very hard to be the next big thing. Yahoo's still there, hanging around. But the reality is...
But there really isn't a Coke and Pepsi yet.
No,
There really is just Coke.
So
Google.
Law of marketing says there's always two, but in this particular case, there really is just one, and that's Google. So what Google does is it basically wants to give the best answer to your question. And this is very important to understand because Google's whole philosophy is not to be hoodwinked, not to be cheated. So when it all started, and so there's two opposing sides going on here. The first side is the SEO side, and SEO stands for search engine optimization. And what SEO tries to do is almost trick Google. So there's what we call white hat and black hat SEO tactics, and grey hat, obviously. So black hat tactics, so like I talked about yesterday, where you get the word plumber and you hide it visually so you can't see it on a second layer of your page, but the Google robot can read it. That's a black hat technique, and if you do it, you'll get banned. And if you get banned by Google, they literally just do not send you any more traffic. So black hat techniques are pretty silly. And if you get guys ringing you up saying, I'll get you on the first page of Google in a couple of weeks, you need to stay away from those guys, because the only way they can do that is to use black hat techniques. So that's just silly.
Yeah, they're like getting involved in the mafia.
Yeah. It's probably not quite so bad. But
No, because if you get banned from Google, there is no coming back from that. You're closing that entity. Whether or not you're closing your business is another conversation, but you're closing that entity and you've got to start again online.
Yeah, so they will cut you off. They are swift to punish, and they're hard to change their mind. In actual fact, with Google reviews, if you get a bad review, changing that review is very, very hard. Like almost always they say no, they won't allow us to change it. So you've got to be able to prove that it was a total fraud, that review. And it takes a long time. So they're very slow to change. So grey hat techniques and white hat techniques. So SEO has a bunch of white hat techniques, and they change all the time. So you really need to have a full-time SEO person working on your SEO, because it does change, and it changes month to month, and there's bits and pieces. It's just code in the background, and it just allows the Google robots to read what's on your page, and they change the algorithms on what's more important and what's not.
And you need to make sure that your SEO person is actually keeping up to date, because the amount of people that say, I've got SEO people and I've got a website who's the latest guy, and then we go to it and it's so not the latest.
Yeah, the stuff on it's so far away. Yeah,
it's old, or it's a free platform or something, and we just go, they've just paid this guy so much money to do not very much, if almost zero. So
well, the problem with this whole industry is it's all, in a lot of ways, it looks like smoke and mirrors, because the people, like I met with a client yesterday, and the trouble is he doesn't know what we do. He doesn't understand it. he does something else. And so the reality is, I said to him, he said, explain to me what you do. And I said, well, that'd be like me asking you to explain in 10 minutes what you do. Like, you can just say, yeah, I'm an electrician. But after that, then what? So it gets really difficult to get into the bottom part. So the SEO is one side of it, and Google needs the SEO to be able to talk to you, to talk to your website and see what it is. But there's these two guys in the States. I will actually find out when I do the video. I'll find out their names and I'll link their names up. You can have a look at their stuff. These guys have decided that SEO is really a short way to get nowhere because it changes so often. And what they've done is they've gone back to the old way. When I say the old way, it's actually how we started Bleep Media, which is inbound marketing. And they believe that just writing really high quality blogs, it does take 9 months to 12 months. But at the end of that time, you don't need to be doing so much SEO because the blogs do it all for you. And so since Google's looking for real and they actually want to find who is the best person to send you to, the best business, I should say, to send you to, they have this set of criteria and hoops to jump through that make it increasingly harder to get to page one. And so they can wipe out almost everyone who doesn't have any SEO on their website. So if you don't have just the basics, so when you set up a website, there's just some basic SEO, like we have to put in HTML tags and basically do bits and pieces that make the website noticeable by Google. So we do that, but some sites don't even have that on it. So those sites just are immediately just discounted by Google as not being serious. And then there's the heavy SEO where you get everything perfect. Those sites are recognised by Google and they go, okay, well, these guys do this. But then there's what we call day-to-day content. It doesn't have to be day-to-day, but it certainly needs to be a couple times a week. And Google actually sends spiders. So every time you update your website, Google sends a spider back. It starts out monthly. They send a spider. They call it a spider, sorry. I know it's a terrible name because we don't like spiders, but I use the word robots more than I use spiders. But they send a robot out to your website, a little digital robot, and it crawls all over your website and it reads everything on it and it checks what's changed. And if nothing has changed, it lengthens the time until it sends that spider back. And so if something has changed, it shortens the time. So let's say you've changed a page on your website. So then if it was a month, it sends a spider back in 3 weeks. And if you've changed something again, it sends a spider back in 2 weeks. And if it's changed something again, and they find out how often you're changing stuff. And so if you're changing stuff daily, Google is sending a spider back to your site daily. And so you end up with this fantastic scenario where Google is constantly seeing what you're doing. And that jettisons you up the list.
Which is why blogs are so good, because every time you write a blog or do a post, it's creating a new page. So if you have a WordPress site and over the next 2 years you write 500 blogs, your website goes from a couple of pages of explaining what you do to 500 pages of information. So that is uber valuable.
Oh, absolutely. And there's no... So when you actually build out the website that way and you actually build it out with blogs, you become unassailable. Your competitors, to overtake you and to get Google share back is a huge job. And your blogs are getting stronger because...
But this philosophy is really important because Google is not delivering the person that's giving them the most money, delivering the person that will give you the best experience for what you're asking for. That is completely different to traditional advertising.
Yes.
Show me the money, and I will give you the biggest, ugliest, fattest, brightest, loudest ad you could possibly imagine. Just hand over the money. That's all they care about. They don't care if the person's an axe murderer. They will advertise them if they've got the money. So, I love what we're heading into because the people that deserve the cred are going to get it. online.
Yeah.
And they can't, no one can just walk in and give Google $1 million and say, piff that guy off you can't do it. It can't be done. You can't hand over money and the next day have the position that you want online. This is why we're doing this, because it's so important that business people start to understand how much things have changed.
Yes. And obviously, if you've got lots of money, please send it to us. And we will hire lots of bloggers and we will write you. We can actually build a whole site out in a 30-day period with 30, 40 blogs on it.
Yeah.
And the client I was talking to yesterday, he's talking about doing that. So
we've done it several times.
Yeah. So it's pretty simple to do. It just takes a huge commitment and a lot of work. But then you actually build these blogs to actually capture keywords, and then you at the end of your actual time, 30 days down the track, 9 months, 12 months down the track, your website is so strong because it actually has the correct content on it. Google recognises exactly what you do, and they're very happy to send clients to you because you're set up properly. Now, what I was going to say before is one of the key parts of the Google algorithm is time. So time's very hard to fake. So you can't. So a website that's been there. So if you're going to actually start a new business, there's actually quite a good strategy to buy an old website off someone.
Yeah.
So if you were starting a new, let's say, electrical company, then you actually find an old electrician that's retiring. He's got a website
for 20 years, even if it's
or even for 5 years.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be particularly good or anything, but time itself, just the domain time of life, actually does help. Now, it's no big deal if you don't have that, but it's certainly something you could do that helps along the way. And then we actually build that out with blogs, and you have time, and the longer the blogs are up there, the more protected you are. So
I'm going to say, just to sum up, when Jono said the client asked what we do, I was thinking that the best way to describe it possibly is we're an interpreter. So where you have a language interpreter, someone speaks Chinese, someone speaks English, and someone's interpreting the language. If really a digital marketer or a digital lead generation person is the interpreter, that there's a person over here that's got a small business that has really no idea how it works, even though sometimes maybe they think they do. Then there's someone who speaks Google language, and then we are interpreting in the middle. We're changing your business into the language that Google understand. So, and then in turn, your customers will find you.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a balancing act, because we've got to write the website in English so people can actually read it.
Yeah.
And then we've got to interpret it for Google so they can understand it, and they have a set of criteria they want ticked and matched. So once we get that right, it becomes really powerful. And it doesn't have to be a super expensive role. It's actually more time dependent than it is money. Like when a guy walks through your door and says, I want $25,000 for a website, boy, oh boy, you better be a huge company that's got, 1,000-page website, because that's probably an exaggeration. But it's going to have a lot of bells and whistles on it to be worth $25,000. Almost.
I said the shiny online brochure does not make you money.
No.
Does not bring you leads.
No, you've got to build the website to actually do something.
Yeah.
And you've actually got to have landing pages for each separate thing. But maybe websites are a different blog, because
that is another day.
That is another day. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. Sorry I'm a bit blah today. I'll find more energy soon. And we'll be back. I'm the Big Bleeper.
I'm the Little Bleeper. Have a great day.
Cheers.